Hi Honor students, Dean Corvino here with our weekly video message, and I am joined by Nadiya Loving, one of our new pre-faculty fellows in honors. Welcome, Nadiya.
Thank you for having me.
How are you getting adjusted to life back in Detroit?
It's going well, The winter and the snow coming from Virginia is kind of a bit of a slap in the face, but also super nostalgic. The snow just reminds me of growing up in Michigan, so. Yeah.
Right, so you grew up here and then you went on to get an MFA, Master of Fine Arts, for those who don't know what that means. Tell us about some of the stuff you work on.
Yeah, so my mediums are, my MFA is actually in art photography, but I work also in film and sort of related visual media, in arts you sort of call it lens-based media. And a lot of my projects focus on family, culture, personal identity. I often, one of the taglines I've been thinking about is like, well, what I do is I kind of live my life and then I make art about it, which is kind of, like when I really contemplate, like that's kind of an amazing thing to be able to do. And it allows me to think about and work about and research in a variety of different areas. So oftentimes I'm, maybe listening to a lecture by a group of like Black feminist theorists, or I'm, reading a book about Filipino Americans in New York City and their immigration history and things like that. And sort of giving that backstory, my father's from the Philippines, my mom is from South Africa, so that's where sort of the cultural study and those sort of things come about. And so yeah, so the manifest is, maybe that's a portrait of myself and my cousin, or maybe it's also including a family photograph from our family archive in that project as well. Or maybe it's, an interview or sort of oral history and recording of a conversation with myself and my grandmother, things like that. And I get to kind of mash it up, pull it all together, make it look pretty, and share it with other people.
Well, that's great, and,
Yeah.
and I look forward to seeing some of your exhibits. Having moved away and come back to Detroit, is that informing your current art?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I've been thinking so much more about, I mentioned family. My family did immigrate here and settled here. And this is, they lived in different areas in the United States, but this is where they, really put down roots and built their communities. And so in coming back, I'm thinking so much about family heritage and legacy as it relates to the immigrant story. And so much of that being so much like such a prominent history in Detroit, and thinking so much about home. That's sort of one of the biggest themes that I'm sort of shifting to, is sort of that specificity of place and the significance of place. And it's challenging. Detroit's, as we well know and we talk about a lot in honors, has changed a lot. I left in 2008, and now I'm back.
Right around the time of the financial crash and the real estate crash.
Part of why my family did relocate. So it's, and questions of home, what does it mean when you come back to a place and your home is in some ways unrecognizable, right? And certain people have maybe passed on or relocated themselves, and sort of the notion of home as being somewhat ephemeral, right? It's never going to be stagnant, even though maybe it didn't change for a good part of our childhoods, right, or something like that. Or maybe we grew up in the same house, sort of like my family did. We had a house in Detroit that was, for 42 years, was in my family. But we're always sort of searching for it, looking for it, and how do we navigate that? So, yeah.
So you have a number of different projects going on, as well as family life and home life and so on. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by it all? We've been talking to the honor students about the fact that, New Year's, a lot of people have New Year's resolutions, or trying to figure out, strategies to cope with all of the stuff. What's one tip that you would share with the students?
So I'm a big journaler. I'm really, really big into writing down everything that I've got going on inside. So oftentimes you can find me when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just need to get it out onto the page. It's a really good way of just sort of externalizing all of those feelings of anxiety and feeling overwhelmed. And then another thing is thinking more about what I can do in that like present moment. I'm a person who sometimes I'm like, oh, I have to do like all of these things all at once. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I just need to get it all done so it's not hanging over my head. But the truth is that's impossible. I can't get my to-do list done all at the same time. It's an endless to-do list, right? So the sooner I sort of accepted that, I'm like, my to-do list is just, I'm a mom of two. Like, it's going to go on forever. And to say, okay, well, what is the thing I'm doing right now? How can I bring all of my attention to that?
Mm-hmm.
And then move on to the next thing.
Breaking it into small chunks.
Yeah, and just literally putting the other stuff out of my mind. And trusting that I'll get to it.
Yeah. Honor students, what are some of the things that you do to help focus on the task in front of you? As always, you can leave comments in the comments section. I hope you get to meet Nadiya and Loving sometime soon. Take care, and we'll see you soon.